In the somber aftermath of that fateful day, the town of Dunwich lay shrouded in an unholy mist, as if the very fabric of reality had been torn asunder, allowing an eldritch presence to seep into the world of men. The people, once simple and unassuming, now moved with a sense of dread, their faces gaunt and their eyes sunken, as if they had glimpsed the abyssal horrors that lurked beyond the veil of sanity. The trees, once green and vibrant, now stood as skeletal sentinels, their branches etched against the sky like bony fingers, as if warning of the unspeakable terror that had been unleashed upon the world. The memory of Wilbur Whateley, that grotesque and aberrant creature, still lingered, a monstrous specter that haunted the dreams of those who had crossed his path. His twisted, cyclopean form, a blasphemy against the natural order, had been a mere precursor to the eldritch abomination that had followed, a creature of unutterable horror, born of dark and forbidden rituals, and nurtured on the very essence of madness. The recollection of its twisted, pulsing mass, its bulging, greenish-gray flesh, and its malevolent, glowing eyes still seared the minds of those who had beheld it, leaving an indelible mark of terror that would haunt them for the rest of their days. As the days passed, the town of Dunwich struggled to come to terms with the enormity of what had transpired. The survivors, few and far between, whispered of the horrors they had witnessed, their voices barely audible, as if they feared that the mere utterance of the words would summon forth the very terrors they sought to describe. They spoke of the strange, pungent odors that still lingered, a noxious miasma that clung to the streets and the buildings, a constant reminder of the unholy presence that had defiled their town. They spoke of the unexplained noises, the creaks and the groans that echoed through the night, as if the very foundations of the earth were shifting and trembling, as if the old ones themselves were stirring, awakened by the rituals and the sacrifices that had been made in their name. The scholars, who had once delved into the forbidden tomes, now realized the terrible mistake they had made. They had unleashed a horror beyond their wildest imagination, a horror that had brought about the downfall of their town and the destruction of their very souls. They knew that they had meddled with forces beyond their control, forces that had been better left alone, and that they had paid the ultimate price for their hubris and their arrogance. The books, once revered and coveted, now lay scattered and torn, their pages burned and destroyed, as if the very words themselves were tainted with an otherworldly evil. As the seasons changed and the years went by, the town of Dunwich slowly began to heal, but the scars of that terrible day would never fully fade. The people, though they rebuilt and restored, would never forget the horror that had been unleashed upon them. They would never forget the twisted, eldritch creature that had brought about their downfall, and the unholy presence that had haunted their town. The memory of Wilbur Whateley and the abomination that had followed would be etched into their collective psyche, a constant reminder of the terrors that lurked beyond the veil of reality, waiting to pounce upon the unsuspecting and drag them down into the abyss of madness and despair. And yet, despite the passing of time, the horror that had been unleashed upon Dunwich would never truly be forgotten. It would linger, a dark and malevolent presence, waiting to strike, waiting to unleash its unholy terror upon the world once more. The old ones, those ancient, eldritch deities, would continue to lurk, waiting for the stars to align, waiting for the rituals to be performed, waiting for the sacrifices to be made. And when that day came, the world would tremble, the earth would shudder, and the skies would grow dark, as the unholy presence of the old ones would be unleashed upon the world, bringing about a reign of terror and madness that would never truly end. In the end, it was not the creature that had been the true horror, but the knowledge that had been gained, the knowledge that had been uncovered, and the implications that it had brought. The realization that the world was not as it seemed, that there were forces beyond the veil of reality, waiting to pounce, waiting to unleash their unholy terror upon the world. The realization that the human mind was not equipped to handle such knowledge, that it was too fragile, too weak, to comprehend the eldritch horrors that lurked beyond the stars. And it was this knowledge, this terrible, soul-shattering knowledge that would haunt the survivors of Dunwich and the world at large for eternity, a constant reminder of the horrors that lurked in the darkness, waiting to consume us all. The darkness that had been unleashed upon Dunwich would never truly be vanquished, for it was a part of the very fabric of the universe, a reminder that the world was not always as it seemed, and that the horrors that lurked beyond the veil of reality were always waiting patiently for their chance to strike. And so, the people of Dunwich and the world at large would always live in fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of the darkness that lurked beyond the stars, and fear of the eldritch horrors that waited patiently for their chance to unleash their unholy terror upon the world. The horror of Dunwich would never truly be forgotten, for it was a part of the very fabric of the human psyche, a reminder of the terrors that lurked beyond the veil of sanity, and the unholy presence that waited patiently to consume us all.